Hi, the Brisbane Broncos are not the world champions after losing the World Club Challenge 24-30 to Hull KR. And despite that, if you can just give me a moment, we are so back, baby! The Broncos are playing again and life has meaning. Woo! Thank you. I think it's disingenuous to say that this game doesn't matter when the club has spent the early part of the year telling us that it does, that it was a big deal for the team to win and they wanted to be the first to do it since the Roosters went back-to-back in 2020, which is a stat that's a little deceiving because there's only been 3 times the game has been played since then. But I wanted my boys to do it because they told me they would and it was important to them, so why didn't they start playing until 60 minutes were already gone? We know this team isn't capable of playing a regular game of football, regardless of how much they outclass their opponent. And maybe that should be the goal this season, just play a regular game of football for 80 minutes. It was the first game of the season. It was 5 a.m. on a Friday. There's a new logo, different jerseys, very dark jerseys. Walsh had the haircut. It was harder to tell where he was. It was all a bit unfamiliar. And then when they went down 30-4 and started going for it, it was like, oh, I recognize these guys. Here's my boys. This is familiar. Try 3 tries in 5 minutes and it's time for another double-digit comeback and they end up just falling short. While you have to give Hull KR their flowers because they won, they played well to get out to a lead, they knew the conditions properly, they kicked very well, but I think it was more a case that the Broncos lost. I don't think they were beaten. It's a wasted opportunity that only means that they need to win another grand final to smoke these losers properly. Coming into this game, I didn't rate many of Hull's guys. Like we saw Mikey Lewis and Jez Litton play for England during the Ashes. Lewis got dropped to the bench after game 1. Litton was all right at times, but I don't know, maybe they just hate their country. Jez Litton ends up man of the match with 2 try assists. Mikey Lewis plays fullback and halfback and kicks 680 meters, but then you've got your typical late career, semi-recognizable NRL players like Tyrone May, yeah, that one. And Peter Hiku, Carl Lawton. And what kind of surprised me was the skill gap wasn't as large as expected. Maybe that's just me disrespecting Hull KR too much, but the only thing that consistently got Hull KR any meters were Broncos errors. Broncos ran 400 more meters, had 9 line breaks to 2, 51 tackle breaks to their 29, and their average set distance was 13 meters larger, but they also made 9 errors to Hull's 6. Hull's first try came after Katoni made a basic handling error looking for the next play before he'd already made it, and they basically scored out of an error themselves as the impending threat of Carrigan had May drop the ball awkwardly, which he got a boot to on the way down, and then not long after that, Walsh has dropped a kick and they've gone over again after exploiting a mismatch when Gashevsky's caught at marker, letting Minicello run directly at pace, which is just a physics problem at that point. There's just no bigs on that side of the ruck. Ricky's getting out of the previous tackle and trying to get onside, so you've got both second rowers stuck in the middle of the park with Corey Jensen off for a HIA, and they can't solve the jumble quickly enough. Third try, I'm not joking when I say that Hull's best path up the field was Broncos' errors. They got out of their own half on 5th tackle the set after the Broncos had built all this pressure, got a drop out, then Pace decided to attempt a burrow, respectfully not the play. The Broncos have just done a good job getting up the field and they're looking like they're starting to click into gear, only for Katoni to drop the ball in the ruck.
Now to get through 12 from 12. So
2 uncharacteristic errors by Staggs in this game. Then not long after that, they're done in by the second kick. And
just lets the ball dribble through off his foot and then knocks it on.
First kick. Maybe it was all intentional. The first one landed in Xavier Wilson's head.
2 Brisbane errors, 2 Hull KR tries. This is the 3rd error. And again,
it is May who will kick. Looking for a back. They find it successfully. A second kick from Mariner.
Before he caught it. Apparently the bunker just doesn't exist in England, but everyone knows an English team is going to get the rub of the grid in the World Club Challenge. They've got home field advantage, benefit of the conditions. They haven't updated their rules to eliminate guys standing in the ruck before a kick, so there's always just a guy standing next to the play the ball, and they're not even trying to pretend they've just turned up there. The line markings are barely there, so it's possible for both teams to be offside all the time, one of which definitely was. Also, they get a bad ref. Not a fan of this guy. He was referee of game 1 of the Ashes, the one that was really bad. But these are all known heading into the game. Those are all predictable. The gap between Super League and NRL is so vast that in order to get a decent game, you have to play them in their conditions in February when you've got absolutely no form. But still, the reasons that the Broncos lost is still their own fault. They're talented enough to win despite all those issues. Having said all that, Hull's 5th try was pretty nice. They got downfield from a 40-20 by Mikey Lewis. Congratulations on making it within the 20 under your own power, Robbins, or whatever you are. And then no one tackles Tyrone May, letting him hold up and assess his options long enough to take advantage of the fact that Shibasaki has rushed out to stop the pass. Peter Hiku scores, and I know everyone's trying to make a play and turn the game around, but rushing out of the line to prevent a pass to Peter Hiku, I don't know about that one. Ezra copped some flack after this game, some of that for his defense on this try where he's not really defending anyone, but like 4 dudes had the opportunity to tackle the man with the ball and none of them did. Him isn't exclusive to Ezra though. This wasn't Reynolds' best game and he wasn't great off the tee. Plus, I thought it was a bit off his best in his first stint. Hull were able to get some meters in the middle that usually get shut down by Hakeem. Then even though they made some great meters, 2 errors from both Shibasaki and Staggs is out of character. Walsh is the only player allowed to make errors. So 5 tries to Hull, 3 come directly from Broncos errors, 1 comes from just general Englishness, and the last try is a good try. And that's why this game is so frustrating, because after they went down 30-4, the Broncos started tearing them apart. 2 good runs from Sheba and Ezra with a quick play the ball is enough for Tolty to cut them open through the middle. That lets Carrigan score. Man scores tries in every format but the NRL. So full preseason as a professional for Ben Tolty this year, he looks quick. It's only 2 tackles later that they run the Walsh play, and there's no option for Hull other than watching Mariner go over. Then the next set, they score through the Sheba play. They're just going to the bread and butter of the playbook, and they all work immediately. Another try goes through the hands to Staggs towards the end of the game, and it's the procession that we expected. When Walsh called the ball with 30 seconds left, I just assumed he would score, but it wasn't to be. Broncos bombed a couple tries in this game that would have got them there, but that's always going to be the case. They bombed tries in the grand final. I still have this feeling of frustration, though, post-game. The Broncos were obviously so much better, they just spent most of the game tripping over their own toes. Oh well, better doing it now than in round 1. Some extra notes, the Jensen HIA turned out to be a pretty big deal. They were playing around with Ricky Willison and Tafar, rotating between middle and edge forward. I don't think that worked particularly well, but they might have some answers to that issue considering how well Tolty played in his minutes. Jensen does a lot of bone marrow stuff. You don't necessarily see it or know what it does, but it's important, and without it, you've got problems. You can't predict HIAs, but you can predict the bench will be some combination of Willison, Tafar, and Tolty, so they'll solve that eventually. Anyway, since there's no real consequences to this game, it has no impact on the prestigious TBC BOG or the ticker Gutless Index. Anyway, that's it. Welcome back. I'm so happy to be doing Broncos Yap-Ups again. These just feel right. The Kangaroos one made me praise players I don't like. Anyway, if you would like to read the script for this or my notes during the game, which I didn't take this time since all my energy was being placed on keeping my eyes open at 5 a.m, it's on Substack for free. I'll be updating that weekly, maybe putting some other stuff on there, but I don't want to have to build another audience on another app, so I'm not pushing it or charging it. Completely up to you. All right, bye.